Welcome to Super Happy Dragon Lucky. The show will begin momentarily.
But why, some say, the moon? Why choose this as our goal? And they may well ask, why climb the highest mountain? Why, 35 years ago, fly the Atlantic? We choose to go to the moon. We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other thing. Not because they are easy, but because they are hard. Because that goal will serve to organize and measure the best of our energies and skills. Because that challenge is one that we're willing to accept, one we are unwilling to postpone, and one we intend to win. We choose to go to the moon.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Super Happy Dragon Lucky episode 62. This is the 99th episode. This week on Number Go Up, we have the level of Dragonchain's transparency. So we just released the energy usage and capacity report. We'll have more on this later. We're going to actually walk through it. So if you have questions while I go over the energy report, ask them in live chat, especially if they are about a particular section in that document. We want to get as many questions answered as possible, especially about how the data was arranged, where it came from, why we did that, everything else. Very, very interesting stuff, and hopefully we'll get some good questions later. Next update we have from Den.Social. The June 2021 LCP just concluded last week, and the law layer won both categories, top in lore count and top in unique voters. And that layer just went live, I believe yesterday. It was at least in the past couple of days. So go there and subscribe, and hopefully we get some good content there. Especially it can be any legal content, of course. It is Den, but I imagine there might be a lot of cryptocurrency related legal content as well. So pretty interesting stuff. Will be pretty valuable community, I imagine. Next, the World Blockchain Roundtable episode 5 is this Thursday, so in 2 days. The list of hosts will be released tomorrow. If you can, do please leave a topic or question on a weekly post in the cryptocurrency layer on Den.Social. The link will be in the description here. If we answer your question, or if your topic is ranked and gets covered, you will get one lot from the cryptocurrency layer, which is pretty good because there's only 1,000 lot in that layer. And it was originally created when we started Den way back. And possibly more importantly, go in there and review all of the topics and questions and vote on them, because we really want to rank them based upon what all of you and the listeners of the roundtable itself want to see answered. So should be good. There are already a good few questions in there, and some that I think will be interesting to see what the other hosts say about them. So good stuff. Share the post also. If you haven't already, you'll get rewarded out of the engagement pool, and then just for doing that. So, and so for the final the last update is a walkthrough for the energy efficiency and scalability report. Sorry, I'll go to the top here. So we put this out June 16, just a few days ago, and it's actually gotten a lot of decent attention, a lot of good feedback. We appreciate everything you guys have given us for feedback and some of the questions. But the reason that we did this is we had a driver. We have a few customers that are very actively looking at how to best prove carbon emissions, and whether that's in Europe because there are tax penalties and tax advantages depending upon what you do. We want and we've developed some systems that let people prove their carbon emissions or energy consumption metrics on chain. And along with that came questions about our own infrastructure, about the actual consumption of DragonNet itself, the verification network, and that led us to pull up some numbers. We had in fact a couple of customers request them directly, and it leads though to how do we arrange all of those metrics in a way that makes sense. So the estimates themselves come from primarily from the metrics that are already released daily on the metrics site, the metrics.dragonchain.com website, and it includes all of the information you already have. We also have some info about the footprint of the verification nodes. But for the beginning of it, it was interesting because as part of that research, we found that the facilities where we host the vast majority of our infrastructure on AWS are already marked as carbon neutral based upon information from Amazon themselves, and they have some of that published. We have a link in the report itself to find where they declare that and what it means and how they do what they do. But that was something that we didn't even know. And also the Linode and Hetzner cloud platforms both have ongoing initiatives to expand their use of renewable energy sources and reduce the hosting carbon footprint. And those two platforms are where over 90% of the community runs nodes. Although there are a lot of community members that run verification nodes in their own infrastructure outside of the cloud environments. So, this is a best, report on at least the base network and where all of our infrastructure is running. So from that, we get straight into DragonNet, and we're laying out the specs based upon reported energy footprint from Linode, and also from a verification node running on Raspberry Pi 4 gig. And the reason we did this is the Raspberry Pi 4, which has 4 gig of RAM, is the recommended if you are using a Raspberry Pi, you have to have 4 gig to run some of our stuff, but it does fit 3 nodes on it. And the same for a node running on Linode, that you get a 4 gig node, you can run 3 nodes on it. That's the common footprint that we see the community using, based upon both the tutorial that we put out, or the documentation that we put out to deploy, and on Dreg's documentation that is, I believe, he has the entire thing in Den as well, so you can see how to run your own. But either way, we're running at 2.66 watts per hour on Linode. And I'll just go down here, that you can pull everything from metrics to get these numbers, and these numbers were based upon 2,057 nodes as of June 10th of this year. And if we're at 2.66 watts per hour for a Linode server, Raspberry Pi is less efficient generally because it's standalone and probably just burns more energy. But Okay, we show you the daily, the yearly, and then the kilowatts per hour, based upon a constant of 3 nodes per server, which, by the way, we do have future plans to reduce that footprint as well. We already have design for it, but we're trying to both figure out when we can prioritize that, number one, but also when and how to make it easy for existing node runners. We don't want to break the existing infrastructure for anyone that doesn't have time to upgrade yet. So those were some of the things that really were holding that back. But either way, that's coming. So network kilowatts per day for the entire DragonNet verification network is 43.7 kilowatts, and that's actually a pretty good set. And yet, when we look at the transaction and block energy consumption, based on latest metrics, every block is verified by DragonNet, and it consumes 0.002 of a kilowatt, or 2 watts of energy, better way to say it. So at current transaction volume, every transaction verified on DragonNet consumes approximately 0.02 of a watt of energy. Now, when we got into this, this number down here is important, because it literally is, this is what people care about, I guess, that how much, if I send a single transaction, I care less about a block if I'm just doing business, right? Block is just timing and transactions. What really matters is the number of watts per transaction average, being 200 of a watt. It's pretty good. And this is based upon average transactions a day as of June 10th. So if the number of transactions increases, or if the node count increases or decreases, these numbers change. So we got into a need to calculate network capacity, and the reason this matters is those changes that can affect your per transaction energy consumption are really, how do I say that? It doesn't matter as much unless you know the capacity, right? That if we figure at capacity, it's a totally different thing. And so we looked at the number of network nodes, 2057 per day, the average blocks per day, and it turns out we took an extremely conservative measure of utilization. And when I say extremely conservative, I mean that we looked at the current number of blocks per day and the current number of network nodes. And we see that with those numbers, the average amount of time in seconds between block requests is 10,000 seconds. And based upon 2 different measures, one of which is if I have to wait 10,402 seconds between block requests, or verification requests, what's my idle time? And we basically, to be extremely conservative, said, let's assume that you're going to process that block on your verification node, and it's going to take you 5 seconds. And I think it would be extremely rare that it would take as long as 5 seconds. Only, like say, a level 2 with a significant number of transactions in a block would even approach that. But we assume that on purpose to make sure this is very conservative. Number one, that it takes 5 seconds to process that transaction, and number two, that we are assuming that there is no concurrent block request or block verification request. That is, that the node will only be doing one thing at a time, which is not very realistic. The node can almost certainly do many block verifications at the same time. And therefore, we have two points to make this utilization number extremely conservative. And at current rates, the network utilization is 0.05%, right? So we use that later to show you, what that means. But to demonstrate the reality of this, we ran the same set of figures during the 24-hour live streamed demonstration of platform scalability, where we basically took a number that would be about 150% of the Visa global payments network, and we executed over 260 million business transactions on the operational DragonNet. So on that day, DragonNet only had 520 active nodes. So those nodes verified decentralized proof for every individual transaction. And our network utilization rate was just under 2%. Okay. So, when we look at it, we're using the same figure. And given that we had 172,000 transactions or blocks, we had approximately 172,000 blocks. That was probably more than that, because this is only considering the demo systems. This isn't considering the other business systems that we're also running. That means that every node on the network would have gotten 332 verification requests that day. The seconds between are 260, and we have that same very conservative 5 seconds and no concurrent verification requests, which meant that we were at 1.92% utilization. And with that, our watts per transaction is a radically low number. It's 1.64 e to the minus 10. So a very low amount of energy power to verify an individual transaction. You look at the kilowatts, and we're at 2/10,000ths of a kilowatt per block. So it ends up being a very, very good number. And so then we take that, and we've created something called a theoretical current capacity. Now, with this, and the reason we even wanted to introduce this as a term is so that everything else would make sense, that we can say our theoretical current capacity, given that utilization, current utilization of 0.05% would mean that we could withstand 54 billion transactions a day. And it seems like a pretty crazy number. And I will say that, to be conservative, this is theoretical. I would guarantee you as a software guy that there will be other bottlenecks getting up to 54 billion. I will say that most likely those bottlenecks will be on a business chain, though, not on the verification network. There will be some things like, say, the number of requests and the way we are channeling those. In fact, we have a couple of initiatives underway to actually improve the scalability of the connection between business nodes and verification nodes, which will play into that number. But either way, 54 billion, which gives us a watts per transaction of, an E minus 17. It's just, there are a lot of zeros after the decimal point before you get to your number. So it's an extremely low amount. And, it is taking upon the fact that we know how many nodes are running and the approximate footprint of all of those nodes. So given that we have all of that, it's very telling, and I guess in the end, it's more than anything showing how efficient Dragonchain and DragonNet is. We should also say that, how do I say this? We should also say that a business chain itself will very much be on its own. I mean, it'll have its own energy footprint entirely separate from the verification network that is decentralizing their proof. So you could build a business chain level 1 that it will burn its own energy, and that's why we mentioned that if you run that on our own Dragonchain's infrastructure in a hosted capacity, it will be effectively carbon neutral. And there are a lot of things that can be done there too to save energy as well. So it's all good. So the next bit is about how we leverage Bitcoin and Ethereum, and a lot of the reason that the blockchain industry is even talking about energy consumption is because of the some would call FUD around Bitcoin's use of energy. That it is power hungry by definition. That is the point of Bitcoin mining, that it is expensive to run energy, and it's a competition. And the driver is based on value. And when you compare it to banks and the banking world, or the world that it is set to replace, it's relatively efficient, and it's definitely more powerful, and definitely very valuable in a number of other ways. But it's still very expensive. So if you're concerned about that, we do offer a way to leverage that power in a measurable way that is much more efficient. That is, without Dragonchain, you would likely need to put fewer transactions onto Ethereum, say, because you wouldn't be able to put every transaction onto Ethereum, because it's not scalable in that way. That's not the intent of it. So what we do is we cadence, and I've talked about this a lot of times, the way that we scale and the way that we interchain with Bitcoin and Ethereum, as well as other chains, is that we cadence the verifications to that level 5, where we're hitting Bitcoin and or Ethereum and or Ethereum Classic, so that in the end, every transaction gets the full weight of the combined network hash power of Bitcoin and Ethereum and Ethereum Classic, or any other level 5 interchain that we are running on DragonNet. But right now we're only calling Ethereum 8 times a day and Bitcoin 12 times a day, and that varies occasionally based upon primarily the fees, where we increase or decrease the number of times that we hit those networks. But what this means for anyone who's energy conscious is that we can still give you that value without using as much power directly. So what does all this mean? And so we're wanting to basically compare that to different real world examples. And if you look at a Dragonchain node running at less than 1 watt per hour, and on average, and you compare it to a light bulb. People forever, light bulbs are different now with LEDs and everything, but still, imagine 60-watt light bulb. Everyone understands that. Imagine, average U.S. household is 1,200 though watts per hour, and a Bitcoin miner is more than an average U.S. household. Again, energy hungry. But when we look at that, that at our let's say here at our full capacity, we could run a radical number of transactions for the same wattage as a 60-watt light bulb, right? And that's kind of crazy. And another important note, and based upon capacity of the verification network, is that the network gains approximately 26 million transactions in capacity for every new verification node added to the network, and it only consumes 0.89 watts per hour. So it's extremely efficient. And as we get more and more adoption over time, we'll see more on this and probably get better, tighter numbers over time as well. I know we have a couple of things that we weren't able to get clean enough numbers to add to this that would only increase the capacity. And that's basically actual processing time on those nodes and any checks of concurrent verification requests, to demonstrate that it's doable. We haven't had the time to build that out, and it would only improve these numbers. So we thought we would at least release these. The other thing to mention is that we do expect in the coming weeks to have live energy consumption metrics on the metrics page. So you would be able to see an update every day based upon the number of nodes and number of blocks and number of transactions that go through the system. You'll be able to see what the actual average energy consumption of transactions are. And we have a couple of other interesting features coming as well that will surround this information. So anyway, that is the gist of it. We do have all the sources in there where we got wattage information for the various deployment patterns, and also the DragonNet metrics, average U.S. household consumption, all the rest of it. Also, we point to where AWS actually publishes their sustainability and carbon footprint metrics. So anyway, a bunch of really good information there, and that's basically it for that whole report. Let us know if you have any questions about it, if anything pops up, or give us a call, send us a note if you're in the middle of any initiative to track carbon in your own systems. We have already started talking to groups about manufacturing numbers, transport, and other types of energy trade systems, so supply chains and whatnot. So anyway, so that's everything. Those are all the updates. And I guess to close everything out, make sure you watch Super Happy Dragon Lucky again next Tuesday. It will be the 100th episode, and there will be giveaways, some cool stuff, some new stuff. We'll see what that brings. Again, next Tuesday, same time. And then in 2 days, do watch the World Blockchain Roundtable. Leave a question or topic in advance, and especially vote on those topics to help us sort what we should talk about. And follow Real Denizens, Dragonchain Gang, or me, Jojo Rowe. Subscribe to the channel here, and that's everything. Thanks so much.
Because that goal will serve to organize and measure the best.
Adaptable, all capital, label radical yet rational. A tactical approach is palpable if this animal is fallible, but that conclusion is laughable. So with for all detachable from the mandible, you see it now.